It's so
Welcome to the Stronger Than You Think podcast. I am Sarah. I'm your host, and I'm here with Kristin Gutierrez. Is how you'd say your name, right?
Kristin Gutierrez.
There we go. We were just talking
Yeah.
about not waiting for things to be perfect. And just before that, we said we needed to record because if we don't, we're going to say cool stuff. And I started to look for a pad of paper, and Kristen was like, hit record, hit record, hit record. So guess what? I hit record and I have a pen and nothing to write on. So whatever, it doesn't
You were
even matter.
saying, or right on your face, you were, or the wall, you were saying how you get stuck in the how. Because
Oh,
like
don't we
that's
all?
so, yeah, yes, hello.
Hello, hello.
Tell
Okay,
us
so let's
about
let's
that.
let's talk about how we met really quickly. This is so fun because we met. Has it been a year? Almost.
Oh my gosh. And
It's almost.
were you
Was
at
it
the
like
May
April?
event? No, you weren't at the May event
I
with
wasn't
me,
at the May event, but I was at the
Hurricane.
master class in
Oh, right, you were virtual.
April. April?
Yeah, yeah, April, it's been a year.
I was gonna go in May, and then I don't know what happened, but then I went in July, and that's when we finally like met in real life. But
The
we
Hurricane
met this way.
Mastermind.
Oh my gosh, the hurricane mastermind. Yeah, there's a hurricane. Psh, we'll go. There's no power. Psh, we'll go. We have to present on stage and not have a shower. Whatever. Who even cares?
I look at those pictures and I'm like, I don't know how some people looked so beautiful. I am like greasy, slicked hair. Like,
You're like, I could smell those pictures. That's the real truth. Got to start sweating a little bit when you look at them.
didn't we actually celebrated when the lights came back up?
Oh, it was such spontaneous, like, all right. We all just cheered. And remember when
Yeah.
the air came on? Oh, I could
Yes.
feel like,
Because that's the thing that I wouldn't have known if I wasn't in the room. Like the lights are one thing, but like truly it was so humid, hence the hurricane, and it was hot. There was like no airflow.
I did like having a cold shower in the morning. I'm one of those weirdos who enjoys it. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, this feels so nice. I feel clean. But then, you know how like the power doesn't work, so you don't turn on the light in one room, but you go in the next one try and turn it on. So we did the whole time getting ready. I'm like, shoot, we can't even see outside. What do we do?
I know I like lifted the blinds up in my room and like propped my phone camera up so I could like attempt to see my face for I don't know what, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
I know. But that was like the epitome of just doing it anyways, right? I guess we all could have thrown a tantrum and been like, well, we don't have power. We can't see each other. And we're like, I don't care if we can see each other. Doesn't matter. We'll just act like we can. We'll just pretend and do it
yeah.
anyways. Oh
Yeah.
my
And
gosh.
the power, like the room of people that were gathered together and no one complained about the circumstances or the mentor or each other. And we just worked together, even like the collectively, the whole hotel and all the guests that were stranded, but
Right?
us as a micro community. And then I think, went to her house after the power came back on, like the day 4 or something. And we reflected on it because there's just something so powerful to be said about that. Like,
Oh, just pushing through and doing it anyways. I mean, it was
yeah.
like thing after thing after thing that could have made us quit. I mean, we could have, she could have canceled it knowing a hurricane was coming. We could
I
have said a hurricane's coming. We're not
I know.
morons, but we're like, whatever, hurricane, who even cares? We're just going to go. And then actually later in the year, in October, went to another event and I literally left Florida when a lot of Florida was leaving Florida to they were getting away from the hurricane and I was driving to an event and it took me 17 hours in a car all day driving and I was like, "Bye family. Good luck in the hurricane." I was driving. I was like, "I guess I do these things." So I guess maybe I'm looking for the next
Mm,
hurricane to do something big. I don't know.
yeah.
Seems to be what like stirs things up. So, well, you could talk about, I mean, we kind of talked about how we met. Do you want to tell us what you do? Do you want to tell us something that lights you up? Like, what do you want to talk about?
Life lights me up. But yes,
Yeah.
I am known on the internet streets as the girl who says yes and figures it out. And I've got a book coming out called Say Yes and Figure It Out.
Do you?
This will be my second book now. I I help like I generally say to parents I meet on the playground or wherever I'm hanging out these days, I
Yeah.
help entrepreneurs make more money. And I do that with the art and strategy of high ticket offers, but things that make me unique on the
Mm.
is the say yes and figure it out. And it's my, this is ironic because it's like my corporate sales background.
Mhm.
Why it's ironic is because 99.999% of the people who are called to my voice, they're like, but I don't have 1 year sales experience, let alone 20. And
Mm.
the thing is, like if you know, you know, the thing about selling to corporate P&Ls,
Mhm.
corporate budgets, is it's way different than selling to an individual.
Oh
And
yeah.
over the last, oh my gosh, almost a year, but like in like a 7 months period, I didn't know that. And even
Mhm.
though I had already been monetizing my expertise, but like I had to relearn how to
Yes.
tell the right stories, how to sell to an entrepreneur who was opening up their personal wallet to
Mhm.
hand, 5, 6 figures, let alone, I mean, corporate budgets, like $1 million POs are like, okay. I
You're
mean,
like, wait a minute.
yeah, and it's a multi, in corporate, it's like a multi-month, multi-person sales cycle. It's just like a thing with proposals flying over the wall and meetings. With individuals, it's a lot of times it's cool. You want to put down a deposit? You want to get started? Like it's a very much emotional decision, and
Okay.
people who, you know, it's like I forget who says it, but like wealthy people make decisions quickly.
And change their mind slowly. Napoleon Hill. I was just, well, maybe it wasn't him, but it's in that book for sure. I don't know who said it. It wasn't the guy whose name started with an E for sure, but I don't remember who it
Yeah,
was.
tell us the quote. Tell us the quote.
Oh, it's just that wealthy people make decisions quickly and change their mind slowly. And
Mm,
then not wealthy people, poor people, um, take forever to make a decision and then change their mind like all the
yeah.
time.
Oh,
And
all
it's
the
interesting because I think sometimes, especially in like an entrepreneurial world or in a high ticket offer world, we often think that wealth only means money, but wealth is time, it's money, it's experience, it's relationship. Like that is where wealth is. It's not one dimensional. Nothing, I don't think anything is.
love
But we
that.
seem to think, really narrow minded. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You said, and I love that you said this, and I'm going to ask you a question that sounds like a trick question, but it might be. I don't think it is, but it might be. So you said that you're known as the girl who says, say yes and figure it out. And also, you are a girl who knows exactly what you're saying yes to. And the reason I'm saying that before my question is that I noticed within a few months of you like really starting to go fast in all of this was you cut that work week. And to some, that may be like, wait a minute. She says yes and figures it out, which means she has to say yes to everything. But she just said no. She said, no, I'm not working. So can you tell me in that context and maybe in other things in your life, how saying yes and figuring it out maybe doesn't mean what somebody might think it means?
Yes. I know because it's often about understanding how to say no, when to say no. Like we can't say yes to everything. I was talking to an entrepreneur the other day, and I used to say in corporate, I was chasing shiny objects. I
Oh, yeah.
had a job for all those years, and I'm still to this day a licensed realtor. I was a Beachbody coach. I was this, I was that. I was constantly, these are big shiny objects I was chasing.
So let's
Well,
just do this really quick for all of our certifications and licenses and everything that we've done. And like, yeah, I've done that. I've done that. I've done that. Okay. Anyway, so yes, there's that. We've done that, right?
yes.
Been there, done that, said yes to everything. Okay.
Right. And then when I became, so I was 9 months pregnant with my second kid in a corporate job, and they promoted me to VP. I was like, dang. And then like 8 months later, they fired me, which
Yeah, well, I
wasn't
mean,
a thing, but like it's all good, right? Because I was like, dang, like this is amazing. They promoting a pregnant woman into a VP. And that's when I came back from that maternity leave, I was like, oh, drowning in
yeah.
I have a kid already. Now I have a newborn. Now I have this, I have that. So I just like cut everything out and I went tunnel vision, single focus on my day job. And like I just went,
Mm,
I was like, well, what happens if I just go all in? And I
yeah.
made so much money that year. It was probably like a year and a half later, like that year, that it was like, holy cow, this is amazing. So I started talking the story. Oh, there's a book. I think these guys started Keller Williams or The One Thing.
Hmm.
This book,
Okay.
this book is so good. So like, let's add it to the show notes, The One Thing. And so I
Yeah.
just started talking about how single tasking was the new, like multitasking's out, single tasking is in. Okay, the point of my story
Ooh.
here is when I started to monetize my sales expertise and lean into like selling sales consulting and then iterating to who I am now, who I serve now, I found that even in the entrepreneurial world, if I have my blinders on, there's still shiny objects. There's shiny objects everywhere. Do I need a mic? What kind of mic? What rabbit hole did I just end up in? Do I need this? Do I need that? Like, do I need to buy this? Do I need that? Like it is. So I was talking to an entrepreneur yesterday who reminded me that so many of us could benefit from the one thing, single tasking, shutting off our blinders, saying no. So it's just like a million different ways of saying, like, I'm going to say yes to this. I'm going to say yes to my first million in 2025. But in order to say yes to this and be detached from the outcome, I still have to say no to other things that aren't aligned with how I'm going to get there.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much because as somebody who is, you know how you hear something over and over and over and you hear it, but then like you hear it. That's
Mhm.
what all of a sudden has been happening for me in these past, I mean, really 2 days, but since the beginning of 2025, I've never in my life done this is the year I'm going to have this word be, the whatever word. Never, ever, ever. But this year I was like, my word is complete, which means don't finish everything. It means make a conscious choice as to the things that I will complete and the things that I'm done with. That is also complete.
Sweet. I got the chills, Sarah.
Thank you. And as I'm doing that, Kristin, the stuff that's this morning at 8:55 a.m., I made another really big internal, like me choice last night. This morning at 8:55, I got an email to be interviewed for a magazine, an Inter Orlando magazine for small business owners. Like saying yes and figuring it out doesn't mean I have to say yes to everything. It means saying yes to the right thing and
Mm.
then doing that. Kristin, I cannot wait for your freaking book to come out. I'm so excited for you. I love it. Your second book. I didn't realize it was your second book.
Yeah, I wrote Be a Better Sales Leader.
Nice.
So the cool
All the show notes books. I love it.
oh, thank you. Um, yeah, the funny thing, I don't know, like who we could take this well, we could take it nowhere or a few different ways, but like the cool thing about using a book as an
Mhm.
entrepreneur as a tool
Mhm.
with the ability to self-publish these days and like not have to overcomplicate it. I never, did you ever like were you somebody who your whole life you're like, I'm gonna be an author? Like, I mean,
No,
you don't have a book
no,
yet, but that doesn't mean you're
no.
you're not like, oh, I was not. I
Yeah.
literally woke up one day in February of 2023 and said I should write a book because my CEO didn't want to make me the chief revenue officer. And he's like, you're not ready. And so despite
You were
being
like, I'll show you.
well, he showed me, he
I
saw me
mean,
months later. But here's what's cool. Here's what's so cool is I decided one day I was going to write a book. I found a program to help me write a book in 3 months. I went to the book camp, end of February, because tomorrow's my birthday. So like
happy birthday. What, February 29th or March 1st?
first, yeah.
Okay. Happy
So
birthday.
yeah, I
Yay.
know don't normally talk about like dates in podcasts, but like it's interesting because so that this weekend, 2 years ago, I was at a book camp. I
Okay.
got fired April 17th, midway into writing my book. I released my book May 31st. And like who writes a book called Be a Better Sales Leader when they got let go of being a VP of sales because
Kristin does.
it's not what happens to you, it's what happens for you.
Exactly.
Your point. And it opened up so many doors for
Mhm.
me, right? To like at the exact right moment in time when I was monetizing my expertise, people were sliding in to my LinkedIn DMs like, I got your book and I want to talk about consulting. And I was like, what? Yes. So it's so fun, like how to leverage a book as a tool as an entrepreneur, regardless of where you are now, where you want to go in the future. And yeah, I think there's like so many strategies of getting that stuff out there.
So then thank you for sharing that. That's so cool. So I'm curious then, why did you write the second book? Did you write or are you writing? Like, I'm
I
not
am
sure where
writing.
we are
I am
writing. So
writing
why did you choose then to write a second book?
as another tool.
Okay. So you saw the
Uh,
importance of the first tool and you were like, hey, that's rad.
yes.
Let's have another. Okay.
Yeah. So it's so fascinating because our mentor
Mhm.
told me, I was like, well, that book's obsolete because I'm not
Oh,
consulting businesses anymore. And she's like,
okay.
it's not. And I was like, oh, tell me more.
Yeah.
Not
Leaning
even that
in.
she didn't even tell me anything. It was that is when did she tell me that? She told me that right in September of last year. September
Okay.
2024. She said your book is not obsolete. You can leverage it. And that's when I stepped in. This is crazy. This is when somebody says something to you and you're just like, "Oh, I needed permission." But like and I
And you
needed to
believe it, right? You just believe it. You're like, you have belief in me? Cool. I'm just gonna hold on.
like don't let go, Jack. So that's when I started to leverage sales as one of my unique mechanisms to differentiate me from all the other people on the internet streets who sell high ticket offers or who sell imperfect action. What makes us unique? And it's sometimes one thing, sometimes two or three, but like it's not more than that, right? Because like there's so many commonalities, but like for
Right.
true, I am like imperfect, janky action all day long, like figure it out as you're going. And I have the ability to sell ice to Eskimos. So,
Which is a good quality. That's nice.
so if I can teach other people how to lean into the ice to Eskimos thing, that's when I can leverage it. So yeah, the book just it's funny because like when you realize how much of a tool a book can be, I have my own imposter syndrome over what goes in it, who am I writing it to? And so I'm just kind of in my own way right now. But the more I put it out there that the book's coming out, like that book's coming out.
Right. And so then I start hounding you. When's my copy coming, Kristin? When is it? It's going to be autographed, right? Like, when is it coming? Do I have to show up at your
Summer.
door?
Yeah, we should plan. We should do a whole thing. It'll be fun.
Right,
Yes.
wouldn't that be so fun? Ta-da! I've got Kristin in her brand new book. See, that was, and then maybe by that time I'll figure out how to do applause. I was on a podcast the other day and this lady was like hitting applause buttons. I was like, I don't even know what's happening. This is so amazing. I was like, I don't know. I just clap. I do like, bang stuff together to make applause. Anyways, um, but I love that you're doing that. And so I have seen a lot of your journey and watching you just be excited that things are happening, because I was there during the time when you had a job, you were excited about it, and then you were like, so something that happened a year ago literally also happened again.
Oh
And
my
it
God.
was neat to see you because there was so much. I mean, it's not neat to ever see when somebody loses their job. That's not what I mean. Please know that's not what I mean. That
Of
is a
course, of
hard,
course, of
hard
course.
thing. But your determination and your focus was like, nobody gets to do this to me again. I
Mm,
am taking control and I'm going for it. And
mm.
that was really empowering just to watch you. I don't know, that song? I don't know what it's called. You get knocked down, you get up again. You're like, you're not going to keep pushing me down. Like, fine, I'm just going to move out of the way because y'all are right here and you're jerks and you're shoving me over. I'm just going to, and you're
In a
like, I'm
new
just moving.
lane.
Yeah, I'm going to make my own lane. And fine, it's going to be bumpy. I don't care, but I'm doing it. And I've loved watching that. I'm curious, what is something that you've discovered about yourself that maybe you didn't know before in all of this journey?
Oh, that's a good question. Where's the applause button?
I know. Yeah. I know. I don't even know. I'll get my
Yeah.
kids in here and I'll do weird sounds. That'd be amazing.
Like you're not going to die.
Mm, that's
Because
fantastic.
yeah, yeah, like that meets everybody where they are.
Yeah.
If you've never gone live before, you're not going to die. If you have all this sales experience and you know how to sell for somebody else and now you all of a sudden have to sell for yourself, you're not going to die. Like you can lose one job, two jobs, 100 jobs, like you're not going to die.
Yeah.
Like go through divorce in the middle of this, you're not going to die.
As very obviously non-specific examples from someone else's random life. Isn't that fascinating? Oh, and I
Could be a
remember when you were like
multi
selling
six
the
figure.
house,
What's that?
and then you were selling a house that was in like another state or something,
2,000
right?
miles away. We bought my grandparents' homes 2,000 miles away. I'm in California. It's in Indiana. And while it was an original home that could have benefited from a little TLC, the lesson that I was meant to tell was that I chose to turn a 3 bed, 1.5 bath house into 5 beds, 4 full baths without money in the bank.
Where's the applause? Or wah, wah, wah.
And I was like, high risk, high reward. I'm just going to use my W-2 to cash out refi. Like we knew at the market, the way, like we it's not like we got pre-qualified, but like we knew
Right.
it would
Yeah.
go through. We just needed to get done with the reno fast enough. Um, so in the middle of all of this, April 15th, it was a Friday, I wired a mentor like $30,000. And on Monday at 10 a.m., April 17th, I lost my job. And I used to speak on their stages a lot. And like, I genuinely would say, like, I know that they would have given me my money back, but I never asked for it back because I knew that they had the tools to get me to my first, they helped
Yeah.
me exercise my sales expertise and like hit the ground running. Um, but it's crazy. It is like the chaos, the financial suffocation that was happening in my life was like, I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Yeah.
And then
And then you started to say your huge win, though.
what was my huge win?
What is your huge win? What
What
is
is
your
it?
huge, what is it? I don't know. I'm asking you. You started to say something and then I talked about the house, but you're like, and now,
No, I was going to say the same thing that
oh,
I was multi six figure. This is not to impress anyone, to impress upon you simply that we were more than $350,000 in consumer debt. Like I still have a hard money loan left as a result of all of this. Like it was so hard, which is the point of like what's your biggest lesson? Like no
yeah.
matter what your version of hard looks like, this is like lots of hards happening to one person.
Mhm.
You're not going to die.
Yeah.
Like how do you put one step in front of the other? I just did stuff today on social media about that because our brains get so bogged down by like it has to be perfect comparison, obviously then paralysis by overanalysis, but like also like it's this huge goal, I have to make so much money, it's scary, so I'm just going to go over here and like take a nap on my couch, and like that's a human thing. Like but if you just trick your brain into realizing that all you need to do is take one itty bitty tiny step, this is like, oh, let's just go there super quick.
Yeah.
Say
Just do it. Yeah.
there's a 4 step framework that makes up say yes and figure it out. And the first step is to simply decide, like decide that I'm going to make money, decide that I'm going to get out of debt, or decide that I'm going to make a phone call today. It doesn't need to be some
Mhm.
big decision point. And then the second step is literally to take one tiny step. It's not to worry about the whole staircase you need to climb.
Yep.
Just take one step, make one phone call, like
Mhm.
whatever that is toward the goal. The third step is to simply lean in. Are you leaning into somebody else? Are you leaning in for help? Are you leaning in because now all of a sudden you have momentum? And then the fourth step is to celebrate the heck out of it. I learned as a VP of sales with a team that I get it. My boss and their boss, we had a $15 million quota for the year, but we're celebrating $1,000 wins,
Mhm.
$1,500 or $50,000 whatever's, because my team is motivated and constantly in communication with one
Mhm.
another and
Yeah.
celebrating the heck out of it and that's rewarding their brain to go out and what? Do more.
Do more. Absolutely.
So you repeat this 4-step cycle as many times a day or a month or a season as you need to get after your goals. And that's it. That's
Well,
how.
and I love it. I love that is, it's funny because I think that at least in my mind, before getting more into this world, you say framework, and I thought it was going to be words I had to look up and figure out. And it's simple, like decide. We just barely talked about that. Wealthy people make decisions quickly and change their minds slowly. Like that's what you do. You make a decision. You say, this is what I'm going to do. And isn't it funny because we've literally been doing this our whole lives. Like when we were babies, without realizing it, we decided, I want to walk. And we were terrible. We
Mm.
were terrible walkers. If every baby who started walking stopped because they fell down, none of us would be walking today. And yet here we are. But really, it comes from that simple decision. Just decide, just do something. Is it the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland? She's like, which way do I go? Which way do I go? And he says, well, where do you want to end up? And she's like, well, I don't know. And he says, well, then it doesn't even matter. So the decision happens here with those small steps because of what I decide out there. You know, you said, I want to get out of debt. I want to make $1 gazillion. I want to have love in my family, whatever it is that that decision is. And then you just take a step forward. And something I saw, Kristin, I want to share this with you really quick because you totally reminded me of this. Recently, I was at a church activity for a group of young women, and this leader was talking about making goals and moving forward, and how often we make a goal and we fall short. And what we think is, now I'm starting over. But
Mm.
anytime we take a step toward that goal and we
Mhm.
fall down, we're still here. We're not all the way back here where we started. So we keep starting from a newer and closer point. And if we can remember that and realize that that's where your celebration is, right? You're leaning into that. Like, I love your framework. I haven't heard it until today. I don't know
Ah,
how, but I haven't. It's beautiful. I love it so much because
yeah.
it can be applied to so many things. So thank you for sharing that. I was cute. You're like, do I do this? I mean, yeah, do it. It's who you are. It's how
Well,
you.
thank you for sharing additional context. The Cheshire Cat, what happens at church. Like that's the whole point is you're right. It is, I like when I was first starting to talk about the book, it's like my Marie Forleo, she wrote Everything is Figure Outable,
Okay.
meets Mel Robbins' 5-second rule.
Nice.
Set a timer,
Yeah.
count
Yeah.
quickly.
Let's go. Hmm.
Like that's what that like say yes and figure it out. If I'm anchoring it to research or people who have been there before me, it's like my Mel Robbins meets Marie Forleo moment, because this is the thing that can go across all stages, across all audiences, all demographics, for like any best fit it into any type of situation. And then yeah, like my own applying my own framework to writing the book and getting out of my own way, and like just making a decision as to who the ultimate person is I'm talking to in the book, and allowing it to then to know I'll commission the reader at the end of the book that like just because the book was written to entrepreneurs, for example, it can also has all these use cases, because it does, right?
Oh, absolutely. Everything. I mean, like
Everything.
I can't stop thinking of people that it would help. Really,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. And it's interesting because I skipped over the lean in part. Were you going to say something?
No, I just want to write the book. I'm like, I
I
need
know. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Get you in momentum. We're changing that energy right now. See, I have a secret thing that I do too. And I get people secretly fired up. I'm able to transmute their energy from one thing of like bleh to like this, let's go, let's power, let's go. And it's super fun. And you don't even know I'm doing it. So that's how I'm very sneaky. I lift your energy, man. But that third step in there was leaning in. And just yesterday, my 16-year-old was talking about it. And have you seen the Lorax? Where the
uh
Lorax is
I
like, which
think
way does a tree fall? And
yeah.
whoever it is says down. He says, no, a tree falls the way it leans. Which way are you leaning? And so I like, yeah, write that down, man. Like put it in there, because if you're teaching somebody to lean in, like which way are they going to fall? If they're leaning into their purpose, that's where they're falling. But if they're leaning into the fear, like, forget it. They're stopped. Kristin, I love your framework so much. I want to have it and like tattooed on my face. I'll get it. Where's Rito? Oh my gosh, I have the best hairdresser forever in New York. Shout out to Rito if he's listening. And I could have him. I've had him put so many designs in my head. Can you imagine if I put your framework
But
on my head and I showed up at your house?
oh my God. I mean, like all I have at this point is like a screensaver for it, right? But like you are like, this is next level. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. So
Okay.
I want to
I'm so
ask you.
grateful for this moment. I just want to
Oh,
acknowledge I'm so grateful for it. Thank you.
oh, I am too. I love this. You have, it's so neat. Up until this past year, Kristen, I have not been in, sounds so arrogant. So whatever, doesn't even matter. I have often been the smartest in the room, unless I was in college or school. I'm typically the teacher or the leader, which I imagine you have been as well. That's kind of, I don't know, that's been my role. Is I'm the guy who gets it done. I'm the one, nobody's volunteering. I got it. I'll be in charge. I'll lead. And this past year, I have been so fantastically uncomfortable because I've been in rooms with humans that are so much smarter than me in so many different ways. And you are one of those humans. And I am just honored to know you and get those messages that you send me, and just hearing your voice, being excited also, and in the trenches while being excited. Like it's so cool to be surrounded by these humans that are just incredible. And I have so much to learn from. So I'm just grateful to know you. I was so
Yeah, well, I'm
excited when
so
your name came
grateful.
through.
What's that?
I was so excited, and you're like, yeah, I'll sign up. And then it popped through. I was like, she for reals did. This is so cool.
And here we are. It's been
I
on my
know.
heart for so many days. Write the book, write the book, write the book, write the book. So I'm just like acknowledging that. And then, you can enter any room, any conversation and decide for it to go a certain way or be uncomfortable and choose this other path or whatever. But like I'm just like fully leaning. This is so ironic. I'm just fully leaning in to like what you're saying and like your energy around this concept. And I'm like, this is it. This is my line in the sand moment, Sarah, where decide, I declare that Say Yes and Figure It Out is a 2025, release, and it's going to be better than ever.
Yes. Where's my applause? But we'll find an applause button. I don't know how, but we'll figure it out. That's amazing. So I had a question asked of me that I thought was a really fun question. So I'll ask you, and I'm actually really curious how you're going to answer it. So the question is, what exciting thing do you have coming up?
Oh, other than my book?
Well, I don't know. Like, is that your exciting thing? Like, I'm going to finish maybe that's it. Maybe that's your exciting thing is I'm finishing this book by whatever. And now,
You know what it really is, though?
what is it?
I learned from our mentor to detach myself from the outcome. And I made this crazy six-figure investment in myself, in my business, and myself, end of last year. And I'll never forget when I made the investment, we were in a hotel room and I immediately went to my room and I made a video on my phone and I was like, I just made the single, I was careful with my word, but like biggest investment
Yeah.
of my life, like kind of a personal development that will 10x me in 2025 and beyond. And the reason I then tell other people who are making the same investment to go off and make that little video from themselves, because there's always going to be ups and downs. And
Mhm.
we don't like celebrate, remember the ups as much as like the downs. And
Yeah.
obviously, like we're all human and I'm going through all these things and that I was in the room with my mentor very recently. And right before that, I was in a down. I was in a very big down, just like, life was life. And it was my kid's dad, my ex-husband, who was like, I wasn't wavering going to the place, but he was like, go there, show up, everything's gonna work out. It's gonna be amazing. And it was like, sure enough, I was there for 8 days, but like
Mhm.
technically so I'm not taking anything away from the other 6 days. It's just the first 2 days in that room, detaching myself from the outcome, from the how, which is why I was so intrigued by what you were saying at the beginning, like,
Mhm.
right? Detach from the
Yeah.
how.
Yeah.
Um, I can see a path clearer now toward the million than I ever could before. And it's going to look way different than if I have a whiteboard and a marker, how I would mark it out. I have marked it off actually. Like I have a goal and like several $100,000 per month and yada, yada, yada. But it's going to look different than that this year. And I'm so excited for that. Cause like the goal, the big theme is like cash in the bank, cash in the bank. Let's put cash in the bank, make some deposits this year. And
Right.
so that's what I'm excited about is like the collaboration opportunities that are at my doorstep because I show up, because I put myself in the room, because I'm detached from the outcome. Like it's cool. Like I still have that goal. Like that goal is not changing. And I've been able to share it now intimately with the people I'm about to start collaborating with. And it's like just a win-win-win. So
I love it so much. Can you explain just for our listeners? Because I know you've heard it and I've had to sort of wrestle with it. And you say detach from the outcome, which I like way better than I've heard divorce yourself from the outcome, which has such a negative, for me, anyways. For some people, it's like, oh, yeah, I totally get it. I like that you said detach yourself from the outcome, but can you explain just maybe for somebody who hasn't heard that before, or like, what does that even mean? Of course, I need to like be attached to the outcome so I do a good job. Can you explain what that means for you?
you're right. Yeah. And I don't have any negative. I've been divorced twice now. I don't have like a negative connotation about that word, but
Oh,
I 100% agree. Like it, I started subconsciously saying detached recently. That's
hmm,
funny. You recognize that,
yeah.
but it's almost like, um, there are so many books out there
Hmm.
other than the two we've mentioned, which like the two biggest books for me in 2024 were 10X is easier than 2X.
Me too. Just barely finished that one.
I mean, that's like on my Audible regular, like scheduled programming, and Who Not How,
Also, just finished that one. Yeah.
which both happen to be, for people who don't know, by the same two authors, Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. And
Benjamin Hardy lives in Orlando, so I'm trying to figure out how to like knock on his door. Creepy. Not
oh,
that
not
far away. I could just come
please,
say hi,
please
tattoo it
do
on my,
it.
anyways.
Ask him to do a walkie-talkie with you,
There you go. There you go.
your husband, so it's not like maybe a little less. I don't know, but like,
Yeah.
okay,
I mean, we just did that. I just did that this weekend with Dummy Laurie. I don't know if you know him, but I just barely did that. My husband was there. I was like, will you film us? And then he was in part of it. Anyways, it was really fun.
it is
But
fun.
so yeah, I know. Yeah.
So,
So I'm
so
doing it.
detach from the okay, so
Yeah.
detach from the outcome. It's like when you have a goal, but then it's not about figuring out exactly what the very little tiny pieces are that are going to get you to the goal. It's really about just saying like, well, this is my goal. And the more I live in my imagination versus sitting here trying to like hammer things out of my to-do list, because trust you me, I like I like to say, I can administratively outwork anybody.
You're right.
I can
All the
stay here
tasks.
longer than the next person. I
Yeah.
can work on vacation more than the other. But what I learned was
And
living
that used to be how we proved that we had worth, at least for me. It's like,
in
how
a
hard
badge of
can
honor.
I work? The more people said, wow, you're a hard worker. I was like, I am. Yeah. So it was important anyway. Sorry to interrupt, but I feel that so much.
Well, yeah, because I think we were offline, not being recorded when you said something about realizing that like I had shrunk my work week by in half. So not only did I like scale 3x what I did in 2023, I mean, I did over $300,000 in revenue in 2024, but I shaved my work hours in half.
Yeah.
I mean, today I went to the sauna, I got my nails done, I've got this, and I got baseball. Like,
That's a good day.
that's like every day right now.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh wait, well, the book's not going to write itself, Kristin, but how do you detach? How do you detach from the outcome? How do you detach from the idea that, like, in order to write the book, it needs to be a drawn out process? Or, like the last book, I had to go put myself at a hotel room for a few different weekends because we all lived together and I never had time, alone. But when you
Weird.
detach
You had
from,
children and you didn't have time alone. What do you mean? That's a whole nother podcast. Oh my gosh. That's brilliant though, because you were like, here's my goal. A step I can take is removing myself so that I'm not so fantastic at administrative things. All of a sudden now I'm in a hotel and the things that I can do is write my book. Like that was it.
Well, not, yeah. And I would tell other people what going through the journey, like, so I ended up being the first book, I was in a hotel room probably 4 different times. And I learned that my sweet spot was 3 nights,
Mm.
because undoubtedly that first night, I don't know if you know what I'm about to say. There's a million things I could say, but but me, who can
Yeah.
outwork anybody, it turns out I got everything else on my to-do list that I'd ever wanted to do done, except for the ugly frog, the book, right? I
Right.
did everything else. I was like, whoa, it's productive. It's called productive procrastination. I'm
Yes, it
procrastinating
is.
one thing while
Yes, it
being
is.
productive on the other things.
Absolutely. We don't procrastinate as entrepreneurs. We're very productive.
So and then I was like, woof, specific hotel, food, like anyway, there was a whole system. But that's the thing. So second book, would I follow the same plan? Well, now I have every other week to myself. So how do I like maximize? It's just the concept of detaching from the outcome is like the outcome is the book.
Mhm.
But like, how do I live in my imagination? What are the other strategies that I can do to get the book out faster?
Yeah.
And there's so many when you stop thinking that it literally just has to be, a grueling 12-month process.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because if you believe that,
Oh,
that's what it's going to be.
mhm.
I mean, there's everybody out there who has their version of whatever it is. Tony Robbins says, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And I like to say, what you focus on, you find. There's your reticulating activating system, right? Like, because it is what you focus on, you find. If you walk in somewhere and expect to see something terrible, you'll find it, right? Kristin, you will. And if you
Yes, I'm
expect
like,
it's going to be
yes.
amazing, it's going to be amazing. And it's funny because you keep saying, stuck. And every time you say stuck, so I've been a massage therapist for 25 years, energy work, some of what I do. And it's fascinating because every time you say stuck, I watch you energetically move. You're gonna have to watch this back and see it because you're like stuck or live in my imagination,
Huh?
stuck or live in my imagination. And if you can't see, if you're not watching the podcast, if you're just listening, every time Kristin said stuck, she would almost shrink or like put books on her head and kind of shrink down. Every time she said imagination, she would lift up into her head. And it's so cool. So can I give you like a a maybe
Coach me,
what to do?
coach.
So I'm gonna have you stand up. I don't think you're standing up. I'm standing up right now. So
I'm
shove
gonna
your
say,
chair out of the way and stand up if you can, or wherever you can go. When we're feeling stuck, it's often because we're stagnant. Literally, we're sitting. We're in this confined, squished, stopped state. And when we want our energy to lift and we want to be up here in our imagination, something simple we can do is reach down on the ground and pull our energy up and lift it and throw it, which seems silly. And one of the fun things about when something seems silly is we accidentally smile and we accidentally feel better, even if it's goofy. So we can just lift and zip it up, just pull that energy up and out. And then all of a sudden, guess what? Our eyes start going up and we giggle and we laugh. And all of a sudden, I'm a little kid. And sometimes we twirl and sometimes we get goofy. And all of a sudden, thoughts, and ideas just happen because now we're activated, we're lifted, we're not stuck and stagnant, we're living in that imagination.
love it.
So there you
Yeah.
go. There's a little gosh, why can't I get anything done? I'm sitting at a computer and I'm not moving. I don't know. Have you ever walked by a stagnant pond? Do you even want to get any closer to that thing? You're like, no, let it flow, let everything move and flow, and it's beautiful, and let it open up. So I am so excited for your book. I'm so excited for all of us. So one last thing, we're going to wrap it up.
Quote
I'm
from
going to share a few
Einstein.
things that I learned from you, and then you can be listening or thinking about whatever you want to say here. But my podcast is called Stronger Than You Think. My biggest takeaway from this is that you learned that you can handle anything and you're not going to die. That's where I see you being stronger than maybe you thought. Some of the notes that I took down here was that get rid of multitasking, single task. That's what saying yes and figuring it out means. It doesn't mean saying yes to everything. It means being very specific and deliberate in the things that you say yes to. I love that you said I help entrepreneurs make a ton of money. I think that's a great job. I love it. Um, we had some really, really cool books in there. Your framework is decide, take one step, lean in, and celebrate, and then detach from the outcome. And I don't know that you said this, but I wrote it down and it's on the same piece of paper. It's in a different color pen. So I don't think it was here, but I'm going to say it because I feel like it totally, I'm just going to show you. It says in here, I don't know if you can see it or if it's backwards, it's my time.
Oh yeah, no, but yes.
Yes, it is. It totally is. And I'm just so excited. Like I feel like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do some like for real stuff, not the administrative stuff, but some for real stuff that can help my business grow. So Stronger Than You Think podcast, tell me what it is that you would say that you have discovered about yourself and you've risen through things and you feel stronger than you thought you were.
Oh my gosh, everybody needs a 40-minute power session with Sarah because that will help you feel stronger than you think. I mean, honestly, truly, like there's to me, it's I don't know if it's because it's your zone of genius, like truly, right? Or in general, as somebody's working through this stuff, they start to internalize it. But I do have the chills. I personally feel transformed from
Oh,
being a guest on your podcast. And I think it's incredible. I think it's incredible what we all can do when we just put our imagination to it and get it done.
oh, I love it. Thank you so much. And I love that you pointed to your imagination and I watched you see
I
that you did that. I'm excited. Kristin, will you let me know throughout the next week if you notice your body doing
Mhm, mhm,
things? It
mhm.
is so I say fun, and maybe that's not the right word. I don't even know. It doesn't matter. I'm going to say it because I think it's fun. I think it's fun to notice when people call me all the time. They're like, my feet hurt so bad, and so I start asking them questions. Well, I can't stand it when this, and I can't stand it when that, and I can't stand. I'm like, so you're telling your body you can't stand, and your feet hurt. So your body's doing a really, really good job. And they're like, oh, shoot. And we do that. We are so powerful and so strong. Go watch my walkie-talkie. We just talked about this today. We were given prompts of a word, my husband and we didn't talk about it. He didn't know that I wrote a handful of words, and Cora, my daughter, just chose some. And our bodies reacted how we felt that word. We don't realize the power that we yield with our words and our thoughts
Ooh,
physically in our body.
ooh.
So the more you show up like this, Kristin, the faster and better everything's going to come running in. And that book is going to be so dang easy. You're going to be like, I'm going to write 5 this year. So
Right.
easy. So easy.
Look, I'm like, Kristen, don't do it, but I have to do this, Sarah.
Yeah.
So this is a box that says it's on my window now that says 1442. So
Okay.
I was on a work trip and I just got in there, I was in the shower and I was like, oh shoot, I forgot my razor. And I'm like, okay, like, should I walk across the street to Walgreens? Like, when do I need a razor by? Like, I was doing all types of math in my head in the
Oh
shower.
yeah. Yeah.
I get out of the shower about 10 minutes later, there's a knock on my door. And I'm like, well, that's funny. I'm not expecting anybody. And so I go to the door and they're like, ma'am, we have your shaving kit. And I was like, I didn't order a shaving kit. And he's like, it has your room number on it. Like, it must be for you.
Wow.
And so I said, thank you very much. And then I went and I did a video on the fact that the universe is always listening, right? So, like, to our thoughts, I get the chills now. I mean, it's exactly in line with what you're saying. Like, we become like not what we want, but who we're being, like who we are.
Yes.
And that has happened to me. I have, just like you said, pay attention to your body language. Like, I have become hyper conscious of things that have happened with me and my kids recently, where it was like a thought or a word, and then it came, like my 6-year-old, man, I really want to have like a play date for me, mom, because they're always for like little brother right now. The
Mhm.
next morning, his friend's mom texted me, like, hey, do you want to get together this weekend for the park? And I was like, somebody I didn't even know, right?
Yeah.
The universe is always listening. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's our opportunity to then receive, isn't it?
Yes,
We
yes.
just get to receive it.
Share, yeah.
Yeah.
Receive and then share the gift. Share, I think like share the testimonial with others so that they can also learn to pay attention to receive and like
Yeah.
be more knowledgeable. And that which goes back to all of your stuff, like the RAS and like when you look for something, you're gonna find it. Oh, so
Yeah. And it's exciting because we hear these things so often, I think. And then finally, like we hear it. We're like,
good.
oh, so like for reals. For reals, that's what you mean. And then we can look back on our life. Like you didn't know you could graduate high school until you did, right?
Mm.
You didn't know you could like birth a child until you did. You were like, well, this baby's got to come out. So there's not an option. And so, however you visualized, well, I'm going to hold a baby, I'm going to hold a baby, I'm going to hold this baby. And then it, all these little steps, it happens to get there. But we do this all the time. We just don't realize it. And often it's the wrong way. You know, I can't, or I'm afraid. And when we focus on that, then that's what consumes us. And it's sneaky. Those dumb negative thoughts are like jerks. They bully their way in. So we just gotta
Okay, shave your head with the four-step framework, come over to my house, and then like we can geek out on this stuff for days and days and days because I'm like Einstein, Sarah, but I could just keep going.
I know. I'm thinking the same thing. I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, shoot, like I'm having too much fun here. This is amazing. So, but if I do show up with my head shaved and that tattoo like shaved into my head, I'm just saying, like, watch out. It may just happen. So be ready for me. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today, Kristen, on the Stronger Than You Think podcast. This has been so much fun. And I can't wait to do it again in real life.
Me
Going to be
too.
rad. All right. Have a fantastic day. Bye.